The words hit like thunder across Cleveland. The next 120 days are crucial for the organization. Jimmy Haslam stood at that podium in Berea, looked directly into the cameras, and made a promise that felt equal parts desperate and defiant. 4 months, 120 days to fix everything that's broken, to rebuild an offense that ranked 31st in the NFL, to find a quarterback after watching Shadur Sanders struggle to a 68.1 passer rating and 3 wins in 7 starts, to hire a head coach who won't become the 17th different sideline leader since 1999. 4 months to prove that Cleveland isn't what everyone says it is, a graveyard, a punchline, a place where hope goes to die. And as the clock started ticking on Haslam's recovery plan, one thing became brutally clear. The Browns just lost Shedeur Sanders. Not literally, not yet, but the writing is screaming from every wall in that building. Smash that subscribe button right now, because this isn't just about a struggling rookie quarterback. This is about an owner who has fired 5 head coaches in 13 years, standing strong and declaring that this time, somehow, it's going to be different. And the entire NFL world is watching to see if Cleveland can pull off a miracle or if this is just another chapter in the most tragic story in football. Let's start with the loss that nobody's talking about, but everyone feels. Shadur Sanders, the 5th-round pick who fell from potential top 10 status to the 144th overall selection, isn't gone. He's still on the roster. He'll still be in training camp, but the Browns have already given up on him. Not publicly, not officially, but Andrew Berry, the general manager who drafted him, said the quiet part out loud when asked about Sanders' future. We're going to do our work on the quarterback market. Translation? Shadur isn't the answer. We're moving on. We're exploring every possible scenario in the draft, free agency, and trades. And if you're Sanders, sitting at home watching your general manager say those words, you know exactly what that means. You're expendable. The emotional devastation of that realization cannot be understated. Shadur Sanders was supposed to be different. He was Deion Sanders' son, the quarterback who put up massive numbers at Colorado despite playing for a team that went 13-11 over 2 years. He had the pedigree, the confidence, the swagger. And when he finally got his shot in Week 12 after sitting behind Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel for 10 games, he showed flashes, real, undeniable flashes. Against Tennessee in Week 14, he threw for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was the kind of performance that makes you believe, that makes you think maybe, just maybe, this kid can be something special. But then came Chicago, Week 15, Soldier Field. The Bears demolished the Browns 31-3, and Sanders was helpless. 18 completions on 35 attempts, 177 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 2 of them came in the 3rd quarter and allowed the Bears to blow the game wide open. The 3rd came in the 4th quarter when Sanders tried to lob a pass to Harold Fannin Jr. but left it completely short, allowing C.J. Gardner-Johnson to make the easy pick. It was a disaster, a complete, unmitigated collapse. And suddenly the narrative shifted. Shadur isn't ready. He's too inconsistent. He makes too many mistakes. He's not the guy. And Jimmy Haslam watched all of it unfold and made a decision. We're not waiting to find out if Sanders can develop. We're not betting the next 3 years on a 5th-round pick who went 3-4 as a starter with 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. We're moving forward, aggressively. And that's where the 120-day recovery plan comes in.
Haslam stood at that podium on January 6, 2026, one day after firing Kevin Stefanski, and laid out the blueprint. We are solely focused on having a great 120 days so we can start winning games around here. He wasn't talking about gradual improvement. He wasn't talking about patience. He was talking about immediate, transformative change. Because the reality, the painful, inescapable reality, is that the Browns just went 5-12. They finished with the 31st ranked offense in the NFL. They had the 2nd worst record in football. And for the second straight year, they missed the playoffs while watching division rivals Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati all compete for championships. Haslam's plan is audacious, reckless even, but it's also the only card he has left to play. Step 1, hire the right head coach. Not just any coach, the right coach. Someone who can fix the offense, develop quarterbacks, and restore credibility to a franchise that has become synonymous with dysfunction. Andrew Berry is leading the search, interviewing candidates like Grant Udinski, the 30-year-old Jaguars offensive coordinator who has never called plays, Jim Schwartz, the Browns' own defensive coordinator who represents safety and continuity, Todd Monken, the Ravens' offensive coordinator who was in Cleveland during the Freddie Kitchens disaster and knows exactly what he'd be walking into, and potentially others who haven't been publicly named yet. But the coaching search is a minefield. Mike McDaniel withdrew to take an offensive coordinator job with the Chargers. Jesse Minter canceled his second interview. John Harbaugh went to the Giants. Kevin Stefanski went to the Falcons. The top candidates are already gone, and the Browns are left scrambling, hoping someone bites. And every day that passes without a hire is another day the 120-day clock keeps ticking. Step 2, fix the quarterback position. This is the heart of everything. The Browns have 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft, number 6 overall and number 24 overall, courtesy of the trade with Jacksonville. They could draft Fernando Mendoza from Indiana or Dante Moore from Oregon, both projected top 10 quarterbacks. They could trade up if they fall in love with someone. Or they could pivot to free agency and try to sign a veteran like Malik Willis or Daniel Jones, both of whom are expected to be available. Hell, they could even explore trades, though that's complicated and risky. But here's the nightmare scenario. What if they draft a quarterback at number 6? What if they bring in a free agent? What happens to Shadur Sanders then? Does he compete? Does he get traded? Does he become the backup to the backup, buried on the depth chart behind Dylan Gabriel and whoever else they bring in? The emotional toll on Sanders, who has done nothing but fight and compete since arriving in Cleveland, would be crushing. And yet, that's exactly where this is heading, because Andrew Berry made it clear, we're not locked into Shadur Sanders, we're exploring every option. And if you're exploring every option, you've already decided the current option isn't good enough. Step 3, rebuild the offense with a heavy investment. This is where things get interesting. The Browns are projected to have $69 million in salary cap space, according to some estimates. That's real money. Enough to sign multiple impact players in free agency, offensive linemen, because Cleveland only has 1 starter under contract for 2026, wide receivers, because the current room is one of the worst in the NFL, maybe even a tight end to complement David Njoku. Andrew Berry said it himself, the offense is going to have significant investment this offseason. Translation, we're going shopping, big time.
But money doesn't solve everything. The Deshaun Watson contract is still hanging over this franchise like a dark cloud. He's owed $80 million and counting. He's not tradable. He's not cuttable without massive cap penalties, and he's definitely not starting. So the Browns are stuck paying a fortune to a quarterback who won't play, while simultaneously trying to find and develop his replacement. It's financial malpractice at the highest level, and it's a direct result of decisions made by Andrew Berry, the same general manager who now has carte blanche to fix the mess he helped create. Step 4. Retain the elite defense. This is the one area where the Browns don't have to worry. Myles Garrett just broke the NFL's single-season sack record with 23. Carson Schwartz, the rookie linebacker, is the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Denzel Ward is one of the best cornerbacks in football, and defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz has built a unit that ranked 2nd in the league. Haslam said the organization thinks highly of Schwartz and wants to keep him in the building, hopefully pairing him with an offensive-minded head coach who can balance things out. But even here, there's uncertainty. If the Browns hire Grant Udinski, a young offensive coordinator with 0 head coaching experience, does Jim Schwartz stick around, or does he take one of the defensive coordinator jobs being offered elsewhere? Losing Schwartz would be catastrophic. It would mean the one thing Cleveland got right over the past 3 years just walked out the door.
And that's the risk of this entire 120-day gamble. One wrong move, one bad hire, one miscalculation, and the whole thing collapses. Jimmy Haslam knows this. He has to. He's been the owner since 2012. He's seen the coaching carousel spin out of control. He's watched Rob Udinski go 1-15 and get fired after 1 year. He's watched Mike Petney struggle for 2 years before being let go. He's watched Hugh Jackson survive 0-16 and 1-15 somehow, only to finally get canned halfway through year 3. He's watched Freddie Kitchens implode in 1 season, and now he's watched Kevin Stefanski, the best coach he's ever hired, go 8-26 over 2 years and get fired despite winning Coach of the Year twice. And through all of it, Haslam has promised change. He's promised accountability. He's promised that the Browns will be better, but the record speaks for itself. Since buying the team in 2012, Haslam has presided over a franchise that has won 48% of its games, worse than the Jets, worse than the Jaguars, only slightly better than the Giants. And now he's standing at another podium, making another promise, banking everything on 120 days. But here's the thing, Haslam means it this time. You can hear it in his voice. Ownership takes full responsibility for where we are. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible. It's totally unacceptable, and it's not going to continue. He looked directly into the camera and spoke to Browns fans. I want the fans to know we are as frustrated as you are. We have great fans. They're extremely passionate, and they deserve better than what they've got in the last 2 years. We are going to give you a better product.
That's not corporate speak. That's a man who knows his legacy is on the line. Haslam is 83 years old. Wait, no. Actually, Jimmy Haslam is in his 60s, but the point stands. This is his team, his investment, his responsibility. And if he can't fix it now, with 2 first-round picks, with $69 million in cap space, with an elite defense already in place, then when? The clock is ticking, the pressure is mounting, and the entire NFL is watching to see if Cleveland can finally get it right. Let's talk about what happens if they don't. If Grand Udinski turns out to be another Freddie Kitchens, if the quarterback they draft at number 6 is a bust, if free agency signings don't pan out, if the offense is still terrible in 2026, what then? Does Andrew Berry finally get fired? Does Jimmy Haslam sell the team? Do Browns fans, who have endured 27 years of misery since the franchise returned in 1999, just give up entirely? And what about Shedeur Sanders, the kid who fell to the 5th round, who worked his ass off to earn the starting job, who threw for 364 yards against Tennessee, who battled through a bloody finger injury against Buffalo, who never complained even when the offensive line collapsed and the play calling was garbage? What happens to him? Does he get traded for a 6th-round pick? Does he sit on the bench for 2 more years watching other quarterbacks fail? Does he leave Cleveland and become a star somewhere else, making the Browns look foolish once again? The emotional stakes of this recovery plan are suffocating. For Haslam, it's about legacy. For Berry, it's about proving he's not just the guy who made the Deshaun Watson trade. For the new head coach, whoever that is, it's about not becoming another name on Cleveland's wall of shame. And for Browns fans, it's about hope. Real, tangible, sustainable hope. Not the false hope of a 7-8-1 season or a wild-card berth, but the hope that comes from building something that lasts, something that competes year after year, something that makes Cleveland football matter again. Haslam referenced other teams that have turned things around quickly. Jacksonville went from picking 2nd overall in 2025 to making the playoffs in 2025. Chicago went from bottom feeder to division contender. New England went from picking 3rd to winning their division. So it's possible. The blueprint exists. But those teams had something Cleveland doesn't: stability, vision, a clear plan, and most importantly, they had quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence for Jacksonville, Caleb Williams for Chicago, whatever the Patriots had that worked. Cleveland has question marks, uncertainty, Shadur Sanders with a massive asterisk next to his name.
Andrew Berry tried to spin it positively. I'll never put a limit on our team in a given year. Every year really is unique. But when pressed, he admitted the truth. The offense is going to have significant investment this offseason, because it has to. Because without it, the defense doesn't matter. Myles Garrett's 23 sacks don't matter. Carson Schwessinger's tackles don't matter. None of it matters if the offense can't score points.
And so, the 120 days begin. Coaching interviews, free agency tampering periods, draft preparations, trade negotiations, film study, medical evaluations, contract negotiations, all of it compressed into 4 months of frantic, high-stakes maneuvering. And at the center of it all is Jimmy Haslam, the owner who has failed repeatedly but refuses to quit, who stands strong even when everything is crumbling, who promises, once again, that this time will be different. Will it be? Can Cleveland really go from worst to first? Can they find the right coach, the right quarterback, the right offensive pieces to turn this around in one off-season? History says no. Logic says no. The last 13 years of dysfunction say absolutely not. But Haslam is betting everything that the answer is yes, that the next 120 days will define the next decade of Browns football, that Shadur Sanders' loss, painful as it is, will ultimately lead to something better, something sustainable, something championship caliber. The clock is ticking, the NFL is watching, and Cleveland, once again, is fighting for its football life. Only this time, there's no room for error, no margin for mistakes, no excuses left. Just 120 days to prove that the Browns can be more than a punchline, more than a graveyard for coaches and quarterbacks, more than a cautionary tale about what happens when ownership meddles and dysfunction reigns. 120 days to save a franchise, and Jimmy Haslam is standing strong, promising it's going to happen, whether anyone believes him or not. This story is based on reports from ESPN, Yahoo Sports, Brown Zone, Dogs by Nature, CBS Sports, and various outlets covering the Browns' coaching search, Shadur Sanders' future, and Jimmy Haslam's recovery plan.